I'm going to show how to create a user-defined function in a MySQL database. This function, the source code of this function will be linked to an underlying library which can be deployed using a shell code. So this will become quite useful when we have access to a database and trying to get a shell from the database. We make two assumptions here. One is that we have necessary permissions. The first permission is that the database user should have permission to create the function. Second, the user should have write access to the folder that I'm just going to show you now in few minutes. I've got the necessary source code downloaded from the Git repository. So I downloaded this from this repository. I made few changes to the source code, but that's not relevant here. The source code relies in this file, and the method we are interested in is here, sysexec function. So you can see that it executes the system command using the arguments that are passed to this function. Here we have to make sure this function matches with the name of the database function. So we need to create a shared object out of this first. So I'm going to use gcc command to create the shared object library. So this created the shared object library. Next, we need to create the dump for this file, the hex code dump of this entire library. So for that, we need to use a special option of xxd because we only want hex code. We don't want this part. So I'm going to use the ps option. Yep. So this one dumps everything, and I just need to get rid of the last new line character. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, that looks good. So I can redirect this to the shared object in a .hex file. So next is the tricky part. I need to copy the whole stuff into the clipboard, which I had some trouble with. So I'll just get good. So now let me launch the MySQL database. So the first step here is that I need to create the shell code into a variable. And that should start with 0x to indicate that that's an hex code. So I'm going to paste the clipboard. So now we need to create the library using the source code. The library will be created in the folder that indicated by plugin_dir. So this is the folder. So here we assume that the database user has write access into this folder. Otherwise this won't work. So I'm going to dump that select binary dot shell into dump file. So I'll dump it into this same folder, and I'll use the same library name. Great. So that's being created there. So now let's make sure the folder exists and we can see the file there. Yes, the file exists. And let's also make sure the MD5 sum of the original file and the one created in database matches exactly. This is very important. Of course, when we do this in a real-time scenario, we won't have access to the shell. Yep. So we can make sure that the MD5 sum matches exactly. So the next step is to create the function using this library, for which the code is here already in the source code. So this is the function that we are going to create. I'll just copy the whole stuff and paste it here. Yep, that's good. So I can make sure the function exists. So select star from MySQL.func. Yeah, that's good. So the function exists. So the next step is to test it out. So in order we can invoke this like any normal MySQL function. So here the return code is written here. It's 0 means it's success, but in order to make sure the function is executed, I'm just going to redirect the ls-lt to tmp file.txt. Okay, so if the return code is successful, it says 0. So let me exit and let me make sure the file exists. Yep, we can see the file is created here with the MySQL username, and I can try to dump the contents of the file to make sure it contains the right information. Yep, so we can see the directory. So typically, we can create an NC or some SSH reverse shell here to get a reverse shell. Thank you.